Tesla has been subjected to a load of arson attacks. Chuck Schumer couldn't bring himself to condemn it. Will you condemn the arson attacks on Tesla? Yes or no?
Let me explain why people are turning to these means. The reason people are attacking Tesla.
You can't do it, can you? You cannot do it.
I don't think you should. I don't think you should.
It's actually fascinating.
Literally, what do you want me to say, Piers?
It's fascinating.
You are so obsessed with the exact language. I don't condemn people going out.
But let me ask you this. Let me ask you this then. Do you condemn the arson attack on Governor Josh Shapiro's residence? Yes or no?
Well, of course, I don't think people should arson attack people's residences.
Of course, because he's a Democrat governor. Now you can find it in yourself to condemn an arson attack because it involves an attack on a Democrat. But when it's an arson attack on Tesla forecourts, they could have killed people. You don't care. It's the system. And by the way, you understand why people don't like Elon Musk. You've literally exposed yourself in the most priceless manner imaginable.
Wow. Great to have you with us. Please like, subscribe, and share. Piers Morgan absolutely going to town on Taylor Lorenz and generally the left in general for their outspoken, vehement condemnation of political violence when it is against their side, but their complete and total deafening sound of silence when political violence is against their enemies. This is what we want to talk about today. Welcome to the Chris Highland Show. Really appreciate you rolling up. Thanks for being here. Please like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. Let us know you're here in the comments. If you like this content, please share it with everybody that you know. That was an absolute classic self-owned by Taylor Lorenz, self-ascribed journalist, ultra left-wing member of the propaganda media. And Piers Morgan, to his credit, absolutely gets her to out herself and self-own, specifically around the juxtaposition of her views on violence against Elon Musk, Tesla, and as we're going to see, the United Healthcare CEO, and how she was more than willing to condemn the violence against Josh Shapiro. For those of you who don't know, Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania governor's house, was arson attacked last week. Now, thankfully, nobody was hurt. His family is okay. He is okay. Nobody was hurt. The house obviously is destroyed for anybody who's seen pictures of it. And for somebody who's worked fire claims, I can tell you that this is a very painful event. It will take months to recover. It will take months and months to put the house back together. They have to go live somewhere else. All of their sentimental things are potentially gone. You can't replace some of that stuff. So it is a terrible thing. That's why arson is a terrible crime. And the fact that she was willing to condemn it, great. But where were these same condemnations when the arsonists were attacking Elon Musk or his company Tesla? Now let's get into, I want you to hear from Josh Shapiro. I want you to hear what he has to say. We're going to get into the person who has been arrested in connection with these attacks, but then we're going to get back into the media's treatment of it and how it is completely and totally different. Here's Josh Shapiro.
But we do know that this attack was targeted. We don't know the person's specific motive yet, but we do know a few truths. First, this type of violence is not okay. This kind of violence is becoming far too common in our society. And I don't give a damn if it's coming from one particular side or the other, directed at one particular party or another, or one particular person or another. It is not okay, and it has to stop. We have to be better than this, and we have a responsibility to all be better.
He's right. This is not okay. He's also right that political violence is definitely on the uptick. Why is it on the uptick? I believe it's on the uptick, and we're going to cover a video at the end of this that talks about the fact that the left has been normalizing this for some time now in America. Now, make no mistake, leftists and tyrants have always normalized, condoned, and used political violence in the past. Look at the brown shirts in Nazi Germany, the night of the long knives in Nazi Germany. Look at the violence that was perpetrated against political enemies during the revolution and ongoing in the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, in Soviet Russia. Look at the political violence that has gone on against people in Venezuela, in Cambodia, in Vietnam. The leftists are always using and or normalizing political violence. They have for a long, long time. The communists, the fascists, the Nazis. It's part of their playbook. Remember Saul Alinsky and Rules for Radicals. It was part of their playbook. Hence, Dorn and some of the others were known domestic terrorists. Now, check out the reason that you probably may not have heard a whole lot about this story is because, unfortunately for the media, the perpetrator and this particular crime do not fit their narrative. Hence, we have not seen 24/7, minute-by-minute coverage of the perpetrator, of what happened to Governor Shapiro, of everything, for a couple reasons. One, Governor Shapiro is not ultra-left. He is a Democrat. I will give you that. He is a more moderate Democrat, although anybody on the left is still left. But he is a more moderate side of the party, hence why Kamala Harris didn't pick him to VVP. And even if she did, I think he would have said no, because I think he saw that train wreck coming. But the perpetrator, or the alleged perpetrator in this case, Cody Balmer, does not fit their narrative. I want to dive into him. Check out. So here's Cody Balmer, just to give you a feel of why you may not have seen this story on blast everywhere. So here's Cody Balmer and one of these social media posts that has been posted upside. So he's definitely not a Trump supporter. I think we can gather from this particular meme that Cody Balmer is not a Trump supporter. Now we have more facts to that effect. And again, why the media has not covered Cody Balmer left, right, center, and always. So here's Cody Balmer again. And what we do know, facts. Now, I'd like to see this information for myself, but this is what is being reported on social media now. That his phone pinged 39 times at Kamala Harris rallies, at Antifa BLM protests, and pro-Hamas Palestine protests. So if this proves out to be true, then it is obvious factually that he is a Kamala supporter, a BLM Antifa supporter, and a Hamas Palestine supporter. That puts him squarely on the far left, which is a problem for the Democrats and for the propaganda media because he doesn't fit the narrative. Therefore, they cannot run out and say how evil this man is for attacking a Democrat. You'll notice that they've never said how evil the people are for attacking Elon Musk and Tesla, and keying Teslas and firebombing Teslas and throwing Molotov cocktails at Tesla dealerships, where people but where people work and where people were shopping, mind you. We'll get to that later. It's not like it was just an act of material destruction or property destruction. No, there were definite precursors of harming individuals and potential to harm individuals. If you've ever seen not just a Tesla, but any electric vehicle with those big batteries burn, you cannot put it out. The idea of setting a Tesla on fire or an electric vehicle on fire, those batteries, because of what they're made of, the lithium ion and all the cadmium, everything that goes into them, they burn like white hot phosphorus. It takes tens of thousands of gallons of water to put out a single electric car fire because they burn that hot. So when you set one on fire, you are asking for people to get injured and or unalived, and that's not good. But the media never covered really that aspect of the Tesla. They always covered, what people were protesting and why. They never outright condemned the violence, and that is the problem. The left has been in this country now for years, especially since Donald Trump came onto the scene, someone who could not be controlled by the establishment. He was not their puppet like everybody else was. There was the leftist puppet and there was the controlled opposition puppet, the McCains, the Bushes, the Romneys. No, Trump was outside of their arc. He could not be controlled. And then, hence, the establishment and the left went absolutely nuts with their TDS and their Trump hatred and their idea that by any means necessary, we have to get rid of this person. Get him out of politics, make him lose the election, put him in jail, up to and including people taking shots at him. Now, I say this because I want to dive back into Taylor Lorenz as a proxy for the media establishment, for the left Democrat establishment, and how they normalize political violence and why that is so dangerous in this country. So here's Taylor Lorenz. She was on a CNN special talking specifically about Luis Mangione, who is the person who has been arrested and is being tried for the killing of the United Healthcare CEO. I want you to hear the words that she uses. Then we're going to dive into, jump to where she was on Piers Morgan talking about the same subject. So here we go with Taylor Lorenz on her little CNN interview.
Hilarious to see these millionaire media pundits on TV clutching their pearls about someone standing a murderer when this is the United States of America, as if we don't lionize criminals, as if we don't have, we don't stand murderers of all sorts, and we give them Netflix shows.
We don't lionize criminals. Now the media loves to lionize criminals. Hollywood loves to. Ocean's 11, Ocean's 8, Ocean's 13, the heist. They love to lionize criminals. Now, generally, they don't lionize people who kill other people, not in the media. I take that back. I mean, there's always the show, but it's usually, them about taking out the bad person. But it's the media and Hollywood do, but regular Americans do not lionize people who unalive other people. We don't. The media does. You might, but we don't.
There's a huge disconnect between the narratives and the angles that sort of mainstream media pushes and what the American public feels. And you see that in moments like this. And I can tell you, I saw the biggest audience growth that I've ever seen, because people were like, oh, some journalist is actually speaking to the anger that we feel.
The women who got her outside court.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, she's talking about the anger against the United Healthcare CEO, who none of these people have ever met. They don't know him. He was simply a man with a family, with children, who is now no longer with us because some crazed lunatic decided that it was okay to shoot him, that it was okay because he was one of them. He was, he didn't have the right to be alive because he was the CEO of a healthcare company. Now listen to what she says about the person who is on trial for this.
In New York.
So you're going to see women especially that feel like, oh my God, right? Like here's this man who's revolutionary, who's famous, who's handsome, who's young, who's smart. He's a person that seems this morally good man, which is hard to find.
So here she is laughing, joking about the killer in this case being handsome and young and a morally good person. That is how you define unaliving somebody else. You're a morally good person. I'm at a loss for words, but it doesn't end there. I mean, that is unfortunately what the left, I think, believes. Check this out, where she was on Piers Morgan talking about this same subject.
You're unhappy with my mischaracterization of what you said and inferring that you were feeling joyful about what had happened to this guy. So we've got the clip and we'll just play it back just to remind you.
Mm-hmm. I do believe in the sanctity of life. And I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately, because it feels like...
Seriously?
I mean...
Joy in a man's execution?
Maybe not joy, but certainly not certainly not empathy. This is literally...
So you felt...
I mean, there it is in context. That's absolutely what she said. I felt joy. Now, Piers Morgan stopped her, but she wasn't going on to explain that, unlike what a lot of people have tried to make out after the fact. That is what she actually said, which goes right back to the clip of her interview with CNN, where she called the perpetrator, young and idealistic and a morally good person. This is the left normalizing violence as long as it is against their political enemies. Perverting the justice system to go after someone was okay when it was Trump. If it's against somebody, one of theirs, then all hell breaks loose and they are apoplectic. No. It has to be, the rule of law has to be applied equally to everyone. That is what has made America the nation that it is that the rule of law, justice was blind. The rule of law was applied equally to everyone. Everyone lived under the law. But it's not that way anymore. Now we have absolutely a multi-tiered system of justice and shame and outrage. The media has shame and outrage when violence is perpetrated against one group, but nothing, deafening sound of silence when it is against somebody else. Let's keep going.
Joy. You felt
so
joy.
glad that you played that clip, because you'll see that I didn't
and
say
then
that I felt joy.
she misspoke and clarified.
Oh.
And I didn't say that
you don't
I
think,
felt
Mark,
joy
it was more that she
death.
wished she hadn't said she felt joy, because
No,
she suddenly realized how
Piers,
bad it
why
sounded.
don't you listen to that clip again? Because I don't say that I feel joy in the man's death. I said I feel joy because, and that's exactly when you cut me off. And if you let me say I feel joy, Piers, you don't. No, you don't know what was in.
I love that Piers calls her out, because we can go back and listen to the clip again. That's not what she says.
I do believe in the sanctity of life. And I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately, because it's
joy, unfortunately, joy at the death of another human being. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate that I felt joy. I mean, she literally said it. So this is, again, an example. Taylor Lorenz, who's an absolute disgusting establishment propagandist. Once again, the left is normalizing violence. And don't take my word for it. Here, we actually have people who are speaking out on this now, that we cannot let this happen in our society. We cannot let violence under any circumstances get normalized.
The left feels justified in killing people. A study from NCRI, they assessed the violent zeitgeist with original survey data and open source intelligence analysis to determine how normalized and justified violence against the administration has become in public discourse. This suggests that support for violence is part of a broader assassination culture underpinned by psychological and ideological factors. The left feels justified in killing people. If you look at the trends after the United Healthcare CEO was murdered, you see that people actually took to twist what happened into kind of a glorification of Luigi Mangione. Nothing about the fact that he'd killed someone in cold blood, a person he had no connection to, who had never harmed him directly or indirectly in any fashion. They justified that. And when that happens, it goes into the psyche and it actually moves you along a spectrum where you can justify other violent acts, because once you accept violence as a natural reaction to things you don't like politically, it goes from violence in reaction to violence against oneself or others, i.e. self-defense, to a psychological bastardization of what is normal. It is not normal to kill people that you disagree with politically, not in this country, not in America.
She's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Now, and that is the normalization of violence that is taking place. It is extremely unfortunate. But I want to finish out the clip that we started with Taylor Lorenz. Piers Morgan has called her out, and he's gotten her to self-own on her absolute silence and the fact that she will not condemn violence against Tesla dealerships, or Elon Musk, or anybody on the right, while she will condemn it against people on the left. That is the cognitive dissonance, the juxtaposition that we have to highlight if we are ever to stop political violence in general. Check this out.
Of arson attacks. Chuck Schumer couldn't bring himself to condemn it. Will you condemn the arson attacks on Tesla? Yes or no?
Let me explain why people are turning to these means. The reason people are attacking Tesla.
You can't do it, can you? You cannot do it.
I don't think you should. I don't think you should.
It's actually fascinating.
Literally, what do you want me to say, Piers?
It's fascinating.
You are so obsessed with the exact language. I don't condemn people going out.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this then. Do you condemn the arson attack on Governor Josh Shapiro's residence? Yes or no?
Well, of course I don't think people should arson attack people's residences.
Of course, because he's a Democrat governor. Now you can find it in yourself to condemn an arson attack, because it involves an attack on a Democrat. But when it's an arson attack on Tesla forecourts, they could have killed people. You don't care. It's the system. And by the way, you understand why people don't like Elon Musk. You've literally exposed yourself in the most priceless manner imaginable.
Josh Shapiro is a human being. Teslas are cars. By the way, again, you are ignoring the fact that one of the biggest memes
there were Tesla human beings working.
There were human beings in those dealerships where people were throwing Molotov cocktails. There were people in proximity to the cars that they set on fire that burn with the heat of white phosphorus. It's absolutely dangerous. The two are 100% the same thing. It's arson, regardless of whether it's a home or a business. People are still there.
at the areas where they got arson attacked.
Pardon?
Yeah, the truth is you make a political calculation about what you condemn and what you don't condemn. That's the truth.
I don't know. You're obsessed with this like condemnation thing. I'm trying to get you to understand why people are turning to violence.
Yeah,
They're turning to violence
I really
because
am.
they feel like
I really am.
They feel like Elon. Then try to understand this, Piers. The reason that people are firebombing Teslas or whatever they're doing is because they feel like Elon Musk has been sort of taken over parts of the government as an unelected billionaire, and they feel.
Which goes back to what Stacey Washington was saying. She called out this exact argument. Once you accept violence against the other side as psychologically acceptable, once you accept violence is okay when it's more than just you defending yourself, i.e. when someone is violent against you and you are violent in proportion against them, that is, in our society, that's acceptable. That is self-defense. However, once we move beyond that and accept violence against somebody else based on a psychological, political, or ideological reason, we have stepped completely off the pavement. We have run off into the ditch, and we cannot do that. But here's what she's doing. She is justifying it. We have to understand how these people think. No, we can condemn violence no matter what. We can condemn the violence and then go back and say, okay, let's figure out why this person did that. But it does not stop us from condemning the violence no matter what. But it does stop her and the other establishment leftist types from doing it as well.
Feel that there is no recourse within the system.
Are you justifying it again?
Yes, she is.
No, I'm trying to explain to you why this is happening, which is essential if we want to stop violence, if we want to have a less violent country.
Why do you think Governor Shapiro's residence was firebombed? Do you think there may be some reason why the person did it, which can explain it, which means you don't have to condemn it? No, you just immediately condemned it without knowing any of the motivation for why that person did it.
If you want.
She did. She immediately condemned the violence against Shapiro, but she would not do it against Musk, Tesla, many of the others. So again, this is what we have to fight. We cannot have political violence of any type, none. And we have to get back to a discourse where we can disagree with each other politically, ideologically, or otherwise without viewing each other as an enemy to be violently eliminated. But that's where the left sits. They have normalized violence. It is indicative in their conversations, in their dialogue, in the fact of who and what they will condemn and not condemn. And it's very sad. But I want to bring this to you. Thanks so much for being here. If you like this content, please share this with everybody that you know. Let us know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. Thanks for joining us here at the Chris Highland Show. Remember, God is good and he is sovereign. It'll all be good in the end. Till I catch you next time.